Welcome to Daily Steps from One Extraordinary Marriage, where we outline simple steps that you can take to have the ultimate marriage adventure. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. In today's show, we address the question, how do we juggle different work schedules?
This wife goes on to say, I basically work overnight and in bed when my husband gets home. And when I'm up, he's in a deep sleep. Mm-hmm. And we know that there are a lot of couples in the one family that are dealing with different schedules. We know that there are a lot of you out there who are doing shift work. So just like she was saying, she's got the night shift. He's, working during the day. And so you're kind of like ships passing in the night. We've got one couple where they're both paramedics. And they actually are only ever in the house. I think when they shared it with us, they were only ever in the house like 10 days a month.
Yes.
Where they're both at home at the same time.
I'm sure there are many other paramedic couples or folks who are paramedics in the one family. This is just one couple.
They had shared it with us because they had shared, how they crafted the intimacy lifestyle. So I know them particularly. Mm-hmm. But there are all different types of things. There are split shifts. There are part-time jobs. There are all of these different things that mean that the two of you are not in the same place at the same time. And, I think it's really interesting that when it comes to relational issues, we're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And all this kind of stuff. But if the same problem was presenting itself at work, right? If you had a conflict, like we're trying to figure out how to ship two things at different times, if we're trying to figure out how to get everybody in place for a meeting, then all of a sudden we put our work hats on and we say, okay, you know what? We've got to be intentional about how we're doing this.
Well, I think the big thing is you come up with a solution, maybe a number of different solutions, and pick the best one for the situation.
Well, and I would even take that one step further is that you come up with that list of ideas, right? Mm-hmm. The two of you sit down and you're like, what are all of our different scenarios for how we can connect, right? Is it, we've got a few hours, like we know there's always a few hours on a Saturday afternoon that you don't work and I don't work and we're together. And that is just like, that's our time and that's sacred. And we're going to pencil that time in. Or we know that every third Thursday we're off together and that's going to be our day. And so you write down all of those different solutions, right? Because when the two of you are brainstorming, there are no wrong solutions. What you have to do then is take those solutions and start trying them. Right? Because it's one thing to have the list and maybe you've got it up on the refrigerator or on your bathroom mirror. You're like, here are possible ways to connect.
Or you may have a handful of them. And to get started, you're picking two of them and going like, out of the 5 we just came up with together, here are the 2 that we think are going to work the best. So as Elisa was saying let's start implementing it and start going after it. So that way, just because you guys have different work schedules, doesn't mean that you couldn't start your own intimacy lifestyle. Doesn't mean that you couldn't have your coffee break maybe every week or every other week. It doesn't mean that you couldn't have a date night or a date day or a walk and talk. It's just you're going to have to be more aware of your schedules and definitely a little more intentional than a couple that would be working similar hours in the day or in the evening.
Well, and what this does for the two of you is it takes your creativity to a whole nother level. Right? Because now you're looking at it and going, okay, where am I going to find those windows? And here, those windows of opportunity is what I like to call them, the opportunity for connection. And you're not going to be like, you know what, I'm just going to space out on Facebook or ESPN or, those are going to be the times I go shopping with my girlfriends or, go watch the football game with the guys. Instead, you're going to say, if this is the time that my wife and I or my husband and I have set aside for connection for the two of us, in spite of the fact that our schedules don't look like everybody else, then this is that time. Yeah. And this is how we're going to be creative and this is how we're going to make it happen. And you're going to see with that intentionality that your marriage goes to a new level. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that you won't be able to go out with your buddies or your girlfriends. It's just that saying, hey, this is on our schedule and now we're doing this. If an event comes up, then that's the discussion that the two of you are going to have. For the two of you, because of that different work schedule, it may be early on that it's a no-go because you guys are really wanting to hone in on this schedule and stick to it because you want to see positive change. You want the habits to start to change, and those just don't happen overnight. You're going to have to stick with it. And once you guys get better with it, then it's no big deal. In an instance for Elisa and I, not in the sense of the different work schedule, husband, asleep and all this sort of stuff when you get home, but in our financial intimacy. We used to spend a lot of time together sitting down, talking about it, making sure our cash flow plan was correct and all this stuff. We've been doing it for so many years now. It's pretty much a phone call, basically of, this is what we got. This is how much we need this month. Let's go do it. Mm-hmm. And we're done. So what used to be a half an hour now is like 10 minutes. And we make sure everything gets handled. Similar for you guys going, this is what's going to work for us. Let's stick with it and keep on this so that way we don't lose momentum.
And it's not a one and done conversation, guys. Right. Anything in our marriages, it's an evolving process. See where the two of you are now. See how you're spending your time now. See where those pockets of opportunities are now, and create opportunities to get the feedback, create opportunities to review the situation and say, we've been trying this for 60 days. This has worked really well. This one, not so much. So keep the one that's working well, drop the one that's working not so much, and bring out another idea. Nothing is set in stone except for the vows that the two of you have made to one another.
If you want to dig more into this concept of time in your marriage, go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/168 hours.